morning, buenos dias, buenos dias. My name is Yubi. I'm your astro-friendly Latina therapist, and this is Tarot My Becoming, where I entertain tarot with you. They're not general readings today. I'm trying to get my brain together. Today is Café con Tarot. That's what it is. That's what I'm doing. I hope you have your coffee and your tea. I've been drinking coffee today, so already had my tea. Just rewiring my brain. It's Saturday night for me, and I just finished. The whole point of this video was because the last group of videos that I did already recorded, haven't posted, will be posting. I posted some of them, but they're already going to get posted later this week. Uranus just kept coming out, like Gemini, like there's the theme of Gemini kept coming out, and I was looking at the different placements, and I was just like, oh, like, let me just create a video. I'm going to go through all the houses, so all the zodiac signs, right? I'm hoping you know where you have Gemini in your chart, but I'll also include the rising sign, so if that helps. If you don't know how to look for your rising sign, or rather your where Gemini is, if you don't know where Gemini is in your birth chart, I will go ahead and also add a link to one of my favorite free birth chart websites that I recommend. I also recommend that you view not just what your rising sign is, but if you look at your birth chart, where does your first house overlap? Like what signs, what energies overlap in that part of your life? Because sometimes, depending on where you are and just like the transits and the movement, certain parts of your life are being activated by different things in different ways. And so your first house may be a combination of more than one sign, more than one impact, if you will. And so wherever you have Gemini as well, see what other energies, I mean, you know, it would be the energy right next to it, right? Either Taurus or Cancer. But then sometimes Gemini will expand beyond the one house. So it just really depends on if you're looking at a whole house or a Placidus house. I entertain both because everything is interconnected, and sometimes depending on our growth path, it's certain parts, it just looks different. So I am going to go through each of the houses and talk a little bit about how Uranus is going to be impacting that part of your life for the next 7 years. And I'm going to pull out a past, present, future card, and then one card of just something to focus on for this week. So I encourage you to do that, where you at least pull out one card if you have tarot and you entertain tarot for yourself. It's a good practice. That's how I started off, was just pulling out one card and reading it and kind of becoming familiar with it and seeing how it applies in my life, or where I can find it as my day unfolds. So I will do where you've been, where you are, and where you're going with a card to focus on. I'm just debating whether or not I'm going to entertain oracle cards. I think I might. I think I might pull one of these with a regular. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. All right, so let's start off. So first, if you aren't familiar with the planet Uranus, what I'm learning, though it's one of the outer planets, and so it takes a little longer to go around the sun, and it takes about 7 years in each zodiac sign to move into the next sign. And so this is something that's going to happen over a long period of time, but it can also be very erratic, and there's definitely a transformative energy to it. And oftentimes it's viewed, if you think of an iceberg, for example, like there's the tip of it and then there's the big part underneath that you don't see. And so Uranus is really known to be the planet of the subconscious, right? And so that part of your brain that is kind of operating, but it's also the part of your brain that is connected to your higher self, like the cosmos, if you will. Because if you think about it, when you fall asleep and you dream, that's you connecting to your higher source, right? When you meditate and kind of clear out your mind, that's you connecting to your higher source when you're subconscious about it. And so it's also known to be the mind of God, for example, because when you're tapping into a higher level or a higher frequency, you're actually able to access your creative energy. If you ever hear people kind of being like, I'm so in the flow, I'm so in it, and especially artists, right? When they're just kind of downloading and or writing, right? It's anything that's creative, anything that just speaks to your calling of creation. That's your alignment. That's your flow. That's you tapping into the universe and allowing that communication to go through however that's unfolding for you. And so that's where all the inventions come from, right? The brilliance, the geniuses, and that's not just even though this is a generational planet, it's impacting you at the individual level, and then the cohort that you're with is for society, right? So at a global level as well. And so that's Uranus, right? It's about transformation, becoming aware, the discovery aspect of it. But then you have Gemini. Gemini is an air sign. It's all about the mind and communication. So it's learning, speaking, communicating, whether it's through words, whether it's through television, whether it's through the radio, whether it's through the arts. And so it's just how you use your mind and tie the mind to the output of it, right? And the input, right? How you're listening, how you're interpreting, how you're understanding. And so when you group those things together, right? Gemini is an air sign, so it's fast paced. So now you're thinking quickly. You're coming up with ideas with, you might be sharp. And so things will just flow, but everything is on a spectrum, right? And so depending on what other placements you have and what other activity is occurring, you may be from one extreme of the flow being interrupted or halted or held back to the flow very quickly. And so Gemini is similar to Libra, where it's all about balance in your communication, balance in terms of how you're understanding things. And because Uranus is all about transformation, right? And unpredictability. There has to be this, it's kind of like Gemini in the sense of like unpredictability, flexibility, change, right? Is exciting. But for those where those types of placements are familiar, right? But one extreme to the other. For others, it's like changes like las cruces, right? You're just like, oh, hell no. And so then you kind of hold on for dear life until it becomes a bigger thing. So you decide where you fall in that spectrum, right? You want to aim for giving yourself permission to entertain the illogical, right? If you think about it, all creative ideas and everything that was innovative to some degree was considered illogical, right? The idea of having an automobile, right? When you used to use horses to get around and carriages, right? An automobile, what? Oh my goodness, right? So to some people, that innovation was unfeasible and unfathomable, right? It was like, you're crazy, illogical, right? And so it's part of balancing the illogical, like, what is that? There was a meme once that I remember I posted once. I like to jump rope between sanity and insanity, right? Double dutch. Because there's creativity that comes from thinking outside the box, right? Going to the little bit extreme, and then bringing yourself back, right? Or finding your way back. And that includes not just with the logic, but also with what makes sense, right? Well, I mean, that is what that is. Logic is what makes sense. So giving yourself permission to entertain, to be flexible with the curiosity of how things will shift and mold in that part of your life, whatever that is, and we'll go over it. And what new insights are you allowing in, right? What new ideas are you allowing in, and what change will then that occur? And then how will you communicate that to those who are impacted in that part of your life? And so we're looking at innovation, we're looking at communication, and flexibility, right? If you can't go through all of this and you're just needing 3 things, right? innovation, communication, and flexibility with all of that, because the change is so unpredictable. It can go from one way to another. Being comfortable with change or being flexible to the idea is going to be the key. So go ahead and I'll include the timestamps so that you can just jump around and see what makes sense for you. All right, we'll see you soon. All right, first house, Gemini rising. This is for you. The first house is all about the ego. It's all about yourself, how you're presenting yourself. So your physical appearance is going to be key. Your identity is going to be key. And so as you learn to balance, so here's the thing. If you already have Uranus there, there's already some type of change and transformation that's been occurring. You've already had a mission or a goal to work on. And so this shift or this focus in that part of your life will actually can potentially help or cause more disruption depending on what side of the spectrum you're on, right? There, with Uranus naturally in the first house, if you have Uranus in the first house, there already could be some impulsivity or erratic behavior in terms of how you are trying to figure out what you're wanting in life, right? And ultimately it's about freedom of self-expression, who you are. And depending on where you are in that development, you may be on the extreme where you've been really struggling to figure out what it is that you want for yourself, how you want to present to yourself, how you want to look for yourself. And so with Gemini transiting that part of your house, things are going to be faster. Your mind is going to come up with conclusions faster, but it could also still be more erratic. So there's like more energy, air energy pushing that way. And so you may experience a lot. You may want to do this. So your energy may be completely scattered in terms of entertaining different things to figure out what it is that you want. And that could lead to mental exhaustion, or you might reach a solution really quickly, right? And be able to figure out what that is for you, have those moments of brilliance, right? And so giving yourself opportunity to embrace the surprises that come and lean into them versus pushing back on them. And with this experience, because it is about the self and your body as well, Gemini controls the nervous system. And so there could be a lot of restless energy and needing to find an outlet for that is going to be important. Otherwise, it gets bottled up and into you and it's going to manifest. It's going to show up in different ways. And if your behaviors become too disruptive, or how you communicate becomes too out there, or where your power and control issues start coming up, there may be people that start rejecting you or pushing you away. And so then Uranus, it's like, if you can't play with others, you're going to play by yourself. It's kind of like that. If you can't play with others, you're going to play by yourself. Until you figure out how to communicate respectfully and responsibly without this too erratic of a behavior that it becomes disruptive to the other people around you. Because otherwise that might result them in feeling like you're a burden, or that you've put limits or restrictions on them because of your desire for power and control, because it's the first house, and first and seventh house there's always power and control themes there. And so learning how to balance power and control with your freedom of expression without imposing that on somebody else will actually help you be respected and get that desired respect from other people for the innovation that you bring in through your self-expression. And so that is what that potentially may look like. But I also encourage you to check out the other how other people are interpreting it too, right? Because there's always going to be a different flavor, a different way of interpreting this information. It's 10:10 right now. And my hope is that you find what makes sense for you, because life exists on a spectrum with different levels of intensity. Everything could be a little bit different, and it's just how a person communicate the information, how it lands for you. So it's okay if it's not me. I encourage you to just stick to what you know, right? What feels aligned for you. So let's find out where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. If you have, if you're a Gemini rising, okay, 3 cards, please. There you go. Knight of Cups, opening yourself up to the universe. Okay, universe, fill my cup, right? That could be like emotional, the emotional awareness that comes with discovering who you are, right? Okay, ooh, look at this. Oh, qué bonito. Where you've been, the Knight of Cups. So if this is you, you have had your heart open, you're opening up to the universe, and you're saying, okay, universe, allow this transformation to come in, right? I'm emotionally becoming ready for this. And then, you know, as you take a sip of what is being granted to you, there's the Empress energy, there's Venus energy there, a 3 card. These are still new, so it's so pretty. So this is where you are potentially right now, right? You're embracing the Empress energy. There's a peacefulness that is coming to what you've already achieved. Ay, qué bonito. There's like just, there's all these, what are these? Oh, they're so pretty. They look like lanterns on the bottom, but it's almost like she doesn't need the lantern because she has the light in her hand. So there's mira como lo trae. It's almost like whatever gift she got from the universe, now she's bringing it to her throat. It's like, this is mine. This is who I am, right? This is what I've created for myself with what the universe has granted me. She's tied to her intuition because there's like the moon and the sun, kind of like an eclipse in the background. So you might want to check your placements around eclipses too, and the impact that has in your life. But then what you're coming towards is the Queen of Cups. So it's almost like you're maturing from the Knight of Cups to the Queen. So there's this emotional fulfillment with how you will develop your self-expression. And it's like it's like, okay, I want this information, and it's almost like a ball of energy, right? It's like, it's all bottled up, and then you kind of have to, it's almost like the information got given to you. You're trying to decipher it now, right? You're reading into it. You're looking at it up close and personal, and you're just kind of like going through it and kind of even seeing like the reflection of that to you. And I'm saying even that because there's this, right? So it's almost like it's the sun and the moon are facing each other. And so it's this unity of self, right? And the first house is the shadow and the light side of you, right? How are you balancing that? And then it's bringing that cup down for like transforming that information, that ball of energy, that ball of what you got from the universe, and creating it into something digestible, something that you're like, okay, this is my cup, and it's almost like I'm getting ready to offer my cup to something more practical, right? To that next person, that next relationship. Yeah, that's so pretty. That's so pretty. All right, let's get a card of advice. Like, okay, how would you be able to do this, right? How would you be able to do this transformation? There's something about feminine energy too, because it's the Empress. So it's all about feminine energy. So there could be the calling to embrace the femininity, the spirituality of it, of this person that you're becoming, focusing on the feminine aspect of you. Is the feminine aspect of you balanced out? Have you been, you know, with the patriarchy and everything, like, have you been downplaying, like, what's he say, the power and control, right? No poniéndole atención. Have you been dismissing the feminine side of you, right? That is desiring that transformation, that spiritual connection to source, which is really the alignment of you. When we're desiring for creative innovation within ourselves, that's feminine energy wanting to come out. And the card of advice is your 10 of Pentacles. It's your resources. And resources doesn't have to be money. It could be time, it could be energy, it could be people, right? And so it's asking you to look at your resources and how you do this, because if you are seeking for this transformative self-expression with communication, right? It's about costs, benefits and costs, right? ¿Qué te va a costar? I have it in Spanish. ¿Qué te va a costar para hacer este cambio, right? What is it going to cost you to make this change? You know, when you think about finances and resources, right? There's like the pros and cons, or this is going to cost me this much money, or these relationships, or this time and effort and energy to really focus on what it is that I want to transform about myself. And so it's asking you to look at the resources that you have as you go through this transformation and be flexible. I'm going to go back to those 3 things that I said at the beginning, right? Be flexible, focus on how you're communicating, because you also don't want to push people away as you're doing this self-discovery, right? The first house is balanced out by the 7th house of relationships, of partnerships. And so it's making sure that you, as you're finding your new identity and your new tribe, right? If we're expanding it and making it a little more global, you don't want to burn bridges, right? You don't want to lose relationships. I mean, I went through this process of self-discovery and not realizing, right? Not knowing, not being aware of how it was. And there were certain relationships that I lost touch with. I cut off because I was trying to figure all of this out on my own. And that's mostly because the tribe that I was in wasn't entertaining this new world with me, and I didn't know anybody in this new world. So it was me kind of pioneering the way for myself. And now I can do that for other people who come from the places that I've been and don't have or know anybody. Now they know me, right? So my little cohort, my little social group, my old tribe, as they do their transformation, right, they will now know someone who hopefully they can trust, right, in terms of navigating this path. But being mindful of those resources for yourself so that you're not losing complete touch with where you were, and being able to still maintain the support that you need. And a lot of it is learning how to be free with yourself so that you can then allow others to be free as they present themselves, whether it's the same or different as you, right? Let's get one of these little oracle cards for advice. I need to cut these short because this is like 22 minutes. I'm like, I can't be doing 22 minutes for each one. I mean, maybe I can, I guess. Let's see how my energy is, because it's already 10. Maybe I'll post this in the morning. It was a long day. It was a productive day. I did some errands, cleaned my kitchen. You get 2. I guess you get 2. Oh, reclaiming stillness, authenticity, all first house stuff. Serenity, truth, peace is not found, it's remembered. It's remembered. Ooh, that's golden. It's almost like when we chip away at the layers of who we've become at this point, that breakdown of who we are isn't that you are creating something new, it's that you're remembering who you've been, right? Which is this pure spirit. Then you have moonlight rest, restoration, softness, and cycles. Even the moon takes nights off. So there's definitely a resting period, especially when managing your nervous system, right? Making sure you're grounding yourself, balancing yourself so that you don't have a mental burnout. Or you may have trouble sleeping, right? There could be restlessness at night. So there's something about rest. There's something about giving yourself time to rest, and or ground yourself in some way. And so you might want to explore those coping strategies and those techniques from one extreme to the other, right? Depending on where you are at, to help you navigate these next 7 years. All right. Gemini rising, that was for you. And we'll see you, if you entertain another house, we'll see you there. All right, second house, Taurus rising. This is for you. Taurus rising, second house. If you have Gemini in the second house, we're looking at your finances. We're looking at your self-worth, at what you consider to be valuable. And so this is where we're talking about resources of all kinds, and how you make money. And so there could be, with Uranus there, disruption. So if you remember what I said at the beginning, flexibility is going to be needed. And especially with this house, you're really wanting to release control over outcomes or expectations, because you could have sudden changes in your income, so unexpected gains or unexpected losses, depending on the other areas of your chart. I mentioned to Gemini rising that if you already have Uranus in this placement, you've already had some type of disruption or unexpected changes occurring. And so it's kind of like you may be familiar with the energy, or this could activate this part of your life if you haven't yet experienced it for whatever reason. If there's been other delays in that, this could be that activation piece of it. And so because it's unexpected change, you want to self-assess as to how you experience change, how you feel about change, because it's not a good placement for someone who wants stability or predictable income. This is the placement where you need to be flexible with how you make money, meaning you may have to diversify. You may not just be reliant on one source of income. And it's going to be really important to figure what that is for yourself, depending on the other placements, right? Because what might end up happening, or maybe what has already happened, is your energy could be scattered in too many, right? Either having too many or not enough diversification of how you are generating income. And so that could lead to overuse of resources, or to not enough use of resources. So depending on what side of the spectrum you are, you could potentially be like making a lot of money, or be depending on other people for money. Now you may, because it's also Gemini and it's all about innovation as well. And Aquarius, Uranus, ¿cómo se dice? Uranus rules Aquarius, which is all about innovation in technology. And so when we're looking at making money, it could be where you're entertaining AI, or something that's unconventional, right? Or maybe communication, anything that's related to communication as a way to generate income. But it's going to be important to not force something or expect certain things to unfold, because it could change from one thing to another. From one extreme to the other. And so you're guided to be flexible, to be curious about, okay, if with these unpredictabilities, how have I learned how to manage money, and does that need to change and innovate so that I can better manage what I want to create, right? So you may be required to learn a skill and be very disciplined in it, because it's Taurus, naturally, the second house is naturally ruled by Taurus, which is a very disciplined skill, like every day, chipping away every day, right? Taurus is the workhorse. So it's very grounded in practicality, right? The day-to-day stuff, being responsible with it, especially because it can shift from one way to the other, right? How are you being responsible with these finances, especially if there's other people that are dependent on you, right? And so needing to really assess that for yourself. Now, the second house is also in charge of your sense of self-worth, because oftentimes we are working and relying on an outside source to determine our worth, right? If I have a great career, then my job is up here, right? Or my job is a priority, or, I have to do well in job. And so there's that pressure that we put on ourselves, because it's tied to our self-worth, right? How we achieve things. And that's been something that we've been conditioned to do since we've been young. And so to undo that is really hard. To have these unexpected changes in finances really targets your, ¿cómo se dice? your sense of self-worth, right? Gosh, I feel like I've experienced all of this so far. All of these changes in all of these houses. I'm like, I've been there, I've done that. Yeah, I know what it's like to be dependent on other people for finances. I also know what it's like to reclaim my own self-worth, right? And not, you know, it's so fascinating how so far I'm like, oh, I resonate with that. Like, yeah, I've done that. I've done that. But yeah, so your self-worth, right? So it could be linked to how you are thinking in these next 7 years, what you're innovating, how you're communicating. And so you may need to really tap into more of the mindset of how you look at how you're shifting your mindset around your self-worth, around how you make money, and the outcomes of it, the expectations. And that's all shifts and changes in your mindset, your perspective. So, all right, Taurus rising, where have you been? 10 of Wands, carrying a lot of loads. You've been busy. You've been carrying a lot of weight. That's where you've been. Where are you now, Taurus? Where are you now? You're on a journey. You're definitely on a journey. Yes, towards healing. Four of Swords. You're right now in a period of healing, which is great because you're needing to heal all of that baggage that you're carrying, all of that load, or releasing that load. You're headed towards the Three of Cups, friendship, a new tribe. And so this is definitely on point for you, especially because you are the workhorse. So it's possible you've been carrying a lot of burdens that maybe don't belong to you, and really needing to release that to the universe. All of those worries, all of those fears, right? Whatever emotional baggage you've been carrying throughout your life, you've definitely needed to release that and rest. Rest is really important. It's possible that you've held on to all of this because it was tied to your self-worth, because it was tied to maybe joint resources or como se dice, because, you know, we rely on the second house of value of finances and values from our family, right? So there could be something about dependency, because that's also how, you know, people may have been dependent on you for their finances, and that is a lot of responsibility. And releasing that so that you could explore, okay, let me find a new tribe, let me find a new family. Or it could be, I need to learn something new, and I'm gonna depend on other people who maybe know these newer things than I do, reaching out for help, right? But there's going to be celebration in how you do this. Let's get the card. What's the focus? The card of focus, starting a new journey. Oh my gosh. Full energy. This is you. With this healing, you're going to start a new chapter. You're going to start a new chapter. You're going to start something innovative. You're going to start, and it could be something for you. Look at how similar and different these cards, like 10 of Wands and then the Fool. They're both in the same position. They're both like, it's almost like your light was depleted here, like your energy was depleted, and here it's like, here the full moon, like it's like you're embracing your shadow, and then now the full moon is saying, I'm gonna show you the way in the darkness. I'm gonna show you the way in the dark. Whereas before it was like, I can't see anymore, but I'm tired. I'm so exhausted. And it's almost like there's this newfound there's this youthfulness all over again of like, all right, I'm on this new journey. This feels good. Let's get an oracle card for you. Taurus. Releasing, you may be needing to release old, rigid financial patterns, things of evolving your personal values, sense of security. You're in between worlds. Yeah, you're in between letting go of a lot of stuff and starting fresh. And so there's might be some confusion about where to go. Your energy, there's a needing to be reset. There's something about going within. What feels like noise is asking for stillness. So sometimes when the world around us is too loud, where our energy is scattered in multiple places, when it goes to that extreme, that's a telltale sign of like, I need to go to the other extreme of intentional solitude for healing. Even if it's just a little bit, right? That's going to help balance that energy for you. So Taurus, that's for you. Hope that was helpful. I was telling Gemini that if you are entertaining a Placidus birth chart, you might want to look at the other zodiac sign that overlaps your second house, because we may have two energies overlapping that part of our life, and so the other energy may be worth, or the other house may be worth entertaining as well. All right, moving on to Aries rising, third house. Aries rising. Yeah, Aries rising. You have Gemini in the third house. That's the third house of learning. Go back to my notes. Okay, so in the third house, we're talking about communication. We're talking about learning. We're talking about your immediate community. It could be your siblings. It could be bullies. So it has to do with your neighborhood, right? Now with Gemini there's this curiosity, right, about how you're learning, how you're taking in information, how you're communicating what you're learning. And so there could be a need for you to maybe abandon old belief systems, how you're communicating that with the people around you. How you're learning may also change, right? You may need to innovate how you're learning. If you already have Uranus in the third house, you've already been accustomed to changes with your siblings, with close relationships, with your neighbors, and those changes may have already been unexpected or erratic. And so depending on where you are in this part of your life, you may, from one extreme to the other, right? So if you've been extremely erratic, that may have pushed other people away, which means you've probably been left on your own, or have strained relationships with your brothers or your sisters or your siblings, or, you know, the people that are closest to you. And now with the focus on communication, well, the third house is, Gemini is the natural ruler of the third house. So you've already had an influence of communication. But if it starts confusing other people, again, you may struggle emotionally. There might also be your mental energy may be scattered as you're trying to figure out how to understand things, or how other people can understand you. And that may be challenging. That might cause a lot of emotional turmoil within you. And so, you know, just kind of be aware that that may impact your relationships with the people that are closest to you. How you're learning is also going to be impacted if it hasn't already been impacted. And so how you normally learn may not be working for you. You may feel restricted, and you may have to try other ways of learning. So instead of relying on the traditional ways where someone teaches you, you may look for ways where you can teach yourself. You may also look at using courses or technology as a way to kind of speed that process up. You may learn another language, or develop a specific writing skill or writing style, because it's all about communication, right? And so whatever it is that you're needing to do to express yourself in a way that balances out, right? The erraticness, but still being flexible to change, because it's a process of discovery, the transformation through discovery. So as you're going through this experience over the next 7 years, there could be changes in your neighborhood. You may be moving, or there could be changes in your relationships with your siblings. And so what you're wanting to achieve is mental stimulation in a way that's exciting, in a way that's pleasurable, not just for yourself, but not just for yourself in the terms of like how you're learning and what you're expressing, but how you're interacting with other people. So that mind to mind connection, right? Of like them understanding you and you understanding them, right? And being able to communicate and have this nice flow will bring you some satisfaction. So, and that's just something hopefully, right? It's all potential energy. So it's hopefully you're learning how to achieve, and everything again is dependent on what other placements you have and what other communication is occurring in that part of your house, part of your life. But that's, things to be mindful of, right? Being flexible for those changes to occur in those relationships, because sometimes it needs to those changes might be needed, especially if you've already been struggling. You might still want things to change, so that if people were pushed away or they had a hard time understanding you, they might hopefully be open to entertaining a new way of communicating with you again. So let's get 3 cards. Where have you been? Oh, okay, 2. Aries, you've been juggling. You've been taking your time juggling. 2 of Pentacles and the Knight of Pentacles, which is Virgo energy. You have been taking your time juggling, and it almost feels like you've been taking your time juggling the past. The Knight of Pentacles is looking at the past, so it's almost like there's been some type of stagnation, maybe, or either stagnation or you were juggling to try to get that big ball. Like you were aiming for that big ball, and you've kind of finally found it, right? That could be, the awareness, that could be the change that you were hoping to achieve. Let's get, where are you now? And that could be, it was the second card, so it could be where you are now. The Knight of Pentacles instead of the 2 cards. Yeah, let's do that, because I'm only taking 3 cards. So you've been juggling, you've been wanting that other, ¿cómo se llama? La otra pelota. They're out of the 2, so 2 of Pentacles sometimes for me is balancing the spiritual with the tangible, with the material aspect, right? And so it's almost like you were trying to figure out for yourself what, I wouldn't say it's the spiritual aspect. There's something about the spiritual aspect, because he's holding on to the big thing, but it's almost like I don't know what to do with this now. It's like you achieved it, but then it's like, what do I do with it now? Where are you going? Where are you going? Aries, where are you going with this? There it is. Okay. You're going towards 5 of Cups and Devil. I talked about being stuck. But you're not stuck. Let me tell you why. It's almost like this new awareness, this new ball of information, right? You've been patiently waiting. You've been waiting for the download. Look, it's like, I'm waiting for I have this, and I'm waiting for something, but you have to turn around. There's almost this feeling like you have to turn around. It's almost like the 5 of Cups, right? The 5 of Cups in the traditional card, there's 3 or 2 cups that are turned over, and then there's other ones that are still upright. And this person only looked up or turned around. They would be able to see the opportunity that's there. So there's something about whatever disappointments you've had, you have to look up. You have to look up. And I don't even know if you've had disappointments, because these cups, aren't toppled over, but only one of them, like you were able to turn around and see the one that the universe is filling. The universe is filling that cup. And with the universe filling that cup, right? And we're talking about innovation, we're talking about transformation. It's highlighting the self-imposed restrictions, the limiting beliefs that you've been holding within you, right? Whether they are about communication. But look at this. Being stuck in two different ways. Being stuck looking at the past, right? With this ball of this full moon. Like it's almost like you couldn't see, or this full moon was like almost like that piece of pie that you needed to cut through and kind of break apart. And if you think about it, Gemini is all about the details. It's all about the details. So it's almost like you had too much information that you needed to start breaking it apart little bit by little bit. And so when it's overwhelming, sometimes we get stuck because it's too much. But now there's this facing forward. So there could, I mean, you could be dealing with Capricorn energy, but I feel like this devil energy is different because it's like, it's facing forward. So there's almost this element of like, I'm aware of what my self-imposed restrictions are, what my limiting beliefs are. And I'm starting to chip away at what once was overwhelming that got me stuck. And now I'm able to take a bite out of it, right? Someone once told me, like, if I have so much trauma, where do I start in terms of the healing? And I remember telling them, I'm like, it's similar to if you have an elephant that you have to eat. How would you eat a large elephant? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, one bite at a time. Not that we would really eat an elephant or anything, but the essence of like something humongous, you have to take one bite at a time, right? If you were to eat a cake, you can't eat the whole cake all at once. You have to bite the cake once at a time. So there's something about the healing aspect or the work, the way it's going to get you unstuck with this activation or this part of your life is tapping into the Gemini element of one piece at a time. One piece at a time. Forgot the third card. Or the card to focus on. There it is. Yes. The Hierophant. This is Taurus energy. This is grounded energy. This is you going through this experience and teaching others. This is you being able to learn the wisdom, gather the wisdom of this experience and being able to teach others. And so there's going to be something great about it, right? Because it is the third house of communication, education, but also of teaching. It's also teaching. So there's a possibility that, you know, once you have all of this knowledge and you go through this experience, you're going to be able to teach it to other people. Return to self, completion, serenity, love. You are the place you've been seeking. You're the place that you've been seeking. So this transformative experience, right? It's all within you. It's all within you. What you're needing is within you. And so look at how bright this moon is. This is the amount of wisdom that you're going to get. And look, it's like this wholeness, but also in the bits and pieces of it. The bits and pieces of it. That's so gorgeous. Yeah, you're going to be able to teach this in bite-sized pieces for other people to understand. Like, I feel like that's where you're headed. Is you're going to be able to unglue yourself, unstuck yourself, if that's even a word. And you're going to be able to teach this to other people. I think that's awesome. Aries, that's for you. All right. I've been telling everybody else to check out what other house overlaps. What other house Gemini overlaps. So if you have, if you're looking at the Placidus chart, I would encourage you to check out the other houses nearby to see if Gemini overlaps, because oftentimes they do overlap if you're looking at a Placidus chart versus a whole chart. So, all right. Moving on to Pisces rising. You have Gemini in the 4th house. And so the 4th house is all about home. It's about the people that raised you, the nurturers. It's about your roots, your heritage. It's also about where you live, where you physically live, or the home that you grew up in, or the home that you've created. And that could be like one person, right? If you're in a partnership, it could be with children. It could be with your parents. There's different ways of looking at this. So if you already have Uranus in this placement, then you've already experienced unexpected changes, right? If you have a difficult moon placement, you've already experienced a lot of unpredictability and challenges with mother energy, nurture energy. If you have Saturn there too, like there's so many different possibilities of how this placement could already have been impacted in your life. And so you may have had an experience that was not dependable, that already rocked your sense of safety and security and belongingness. You may have experienced a lot of different moves, 17 times right here. And this place of home could have been just already continuously in upheavals, right? And that includes financial changes, because you're talking about your stability, your roots. And so if you already have Uranus or some other difficult placement that is causing transformation in that part of your house, for example, if you had Capricorn there over the last 20 years, that's another example. But here you have Gemini. So it's starting to occur. This change could be dramatic. It could be a lot, or it could just be sudden, right? Out of the blue. And you may be called to update your home, because if we're talking about innovation, we're talking about communication. So maybe making your home a smart home, for example, or using some type of technology to make it more efficient. We're also looking at your relationships. So relationships with your parents, or relationships with your children, if you are a parent, or your ancestors and family, extended family. So changes could cause roles to shift and be a little chaotic or unpredictable. You may also feel the need to push away from your home, your roots, or what you've created to be in alignment with you. If you have not been in alignment with you, this will nudge you towards alignment or authenticity of yourself. And how you break away is going to be important, because it's about home. It's about the closest relationships to you. And depending on the relationships, right, and whether or not the relationships you want to continue to maintain, as you break free from that, being mindful of how you are being sensitive to the needs of those around you, right? So it's like, for example, if you are a parent, right, and you're feeling this call, like, I didn't know how I became a parent. I was just doing one thing one thing led to the next, and we became parents, right? Because sometimes that does happen, and that takes on a whole different role and it takes a different part of you. And sometimes that other part of you that once was, or that wanted to become, becomes neglected. And that gets highlighted again for alignment, right? It's like, okay, how do I integrate this other version of myself that I lost or neglected or forgot about because this took priority? How do I start integrating both, right? And sometimes we have to break apart in order to come back together. But the breaking apart is going to be important, because sometimes there could be depending on how this part of your life has already been transforming, there could be a pull towards all about me, because it's been all about my family, and now I need, gosh, I've been identifying with all of these. I've experienced all of this so far. In every house, where it has to be all about me, because it's been all about my family, right? I've been doing this, or I've been the nurturer, I've been the provider, whatever, right? And so now how you focus on you, when you go to one extreme of maybe too much self-centeredness, right? That might disrupt those close family relationships, and it may make it difficult to maintain relationships as you continue to evolve. So the how you break free is going to be incredibly important. And so the goal is for you to detach without creating a debilitating dependency, right? If you have been the primary nurturer, or that primary person in your home that maybe provided stability as you go on, or vice versa, right? If you've been dependent on somebody else, how you detach to achieve your own personal freedom, your own personal alignment, or this innovative version of yourself, is going to be important, so that you could still be seen with this discovery of the new you, and still be accepted, right? And so if you pull away into one degree of extreme or another, right? Too much self-centeredness, other people might reject you. You might leave with a false sense of safety and security, and that might make it difficult for you later on as you continue to evolve, because you'll still feel what once made you feel stable, you think you'll still take it with you, but you're going to get challenged. You're going to get challenged with how to find home within you, how to find stability within you. And because it's erratic energy, right? Learning how to be flexible with the changes, right? Learning how to go with the flow, learning how to allow new information and new insights in, so that this transformation could occur, but in a way where it's not hurting the people around you. And that includes changes to your house. All right, where have you been? Where are you? And where are you going? Pisces, where have you been? Pisces, where have you been? Only 3 cards. Only 3 cards, please. You have been learning how to discern bullshit. You have been learning how to protect your heart. You have been learning how to decipher truth from people who are being fake. You are learning, and where you are right now is self-nurturing, self-care, maintaining healthy boundaries as a result of whatever truths you have discovered, right? Whatever truths you had to cut through, or lies you had to cut through, you are now learning how to make better boundaries, how to create better boundaries for yourself, for self-protection, but also how much to give and how much to keep, right? And there's still this universe, right? you're waiting for the universe to give to you. Because you've done the work, or you're doing the work, or you will do the work, because it's over the next 7 years of balancing your boundaries, maybe with family dynamics, right? Maybe there were people within your close family, chosen family, or actual family that have been lying or taken advantage of you, or an experience where you've had to protect your heart because there was like too many blows. And so now you're learning how to maintain healthier boundaries, so avoid codependency, right? What are you headed towards? Ace of Cups, keeping your heart open through this. Yes, because the Queen of Swords usually has her cup hidden or closed or guarded. She's usually guarded with her cup. Where is her cup here? I don't even know where her cup is here. Usually there's a cup, but these are new cards, so I'm still learning about them. In some of them, like her heart is guarded. And you're headed towards a new beginning, right? Opening your heart to, it could be love. It could be a new relationship, a new connection. What do you need to know? Maybe it's the new home that you're going to create. What do you need to know? 8 of Pentacles. It's going to take work. It's going to take effort. 8 of Pentacles is work. But if it's working, it's going to take work. It's going to take work for your work, but it's also going to take work for this relationship. I feel like it's going to take work for work, meaning you may need to explore a new way of making finances, a new way of establishing your sense of stability. And not just financial stability, but emotional stability. My Oracle card. There it is. The sacred pause. Stillness, awareness, breath. In stillness, the world rearranges itself for you. So there's something about meditating. There's something about going within, being still. Like if there's a lot of chaos or a lot of turmoil around you, right? Sometimes, families, there's a lot going on in families, whether they're chosen families or the families that you're born in. There's something about making time to go within, making time to meditate, making time to self-reflect, right? What kind of home do you want to create for yourself? Is this the home that you have right now, the home that's in alignment with you, right? What needs updating in your home life? But you only know that if you make the time for self-reflection. All right, Pisces rising, that was for you. Let's move on to Aquarius. Aquarius rising, you have Gemini in the 5th house. And so Aquarius, you are all about innovation, problem solving. You are about doing things for humanity. And it's in the 5th house, right? And so the 5th house is all about your self-expression. It's all about what you create, whether it's a project, whether it's children. The 5th house is also about fun and playfulness and romance, and it's the different ways that you can express yourself. And so with Gemini there, it's about how are you showing, communicating, whether it's verbally, non-verbally, through the visual arts, you know, or through the birth of children. Like, how are you showing what you are creating without imposing on other people's creations, right? Because we're talking about Uranus, we're talking about erratic or disruptive or destructive energies. And so whatever other placements you've had in the 5th house, if you already have Uranus in there, then you already know that there's unexpected changes to how you create, to how you self-express, to how you play. There could be innovative or changes to how you play, or how you relate to other people romantically. And so if you have had Uranus there, ¿cómo se llama? You've already experienced some of that. If not, then this is where you are developing how you are creating, and how you're communicating that with other people without imposing on their creations, right? And so learning how to cooperate with this innovation is going to be important, so that you build trust with the people who are seeing you, with the people that you're connecting with, because it is the house of play, but it's also the house of connection through play, through creativity, right? Connecting with someone else to create a child, connecting with someone else to show your art. Sometimes we create art just for the sake of creating art, but Aquarius, you know, you're oftentimes thinking about how things will connect to other people. So you are also a rebel on your own. And so, you know, when you are creating, can you be, you know, give yourself permission to be eccentric, to think outside the box, to love in unconventional ways, to parent in unconventional ways. There could be a shift in your parenting where, you know, you're not doing it in the traditional patriarchal type of way. You may be implementing technology in what you tangibly create, like using arts or AI. You may explore writing in different ways, right? And so there's going to be innovative approaches with all of those areas. And so you may find out that some of your hobbies, right, because it's all about play, so some of your hobbies might develop into something more tangible, right, in terms of your resources. It may become something more serious, or it may be something that you're going to pursue and be more curious about and kind of go down a rabbit hole with, right? You could explore gaming or coding or studying astrology, you know, as a hobby. So really going outside the box of what traditional hobbies are, and exploring that and integrating that into whatever it is that you're creating. And it could even just be having a new idea, a new perspective on what fun looks like, right? And so giving yourself permission to think outside the box, explore the unconventional, and then adopt and modify what fun and play and romance and creativity looks for you. All right, let's look at where you've been, Aquarius. Where have you been? Where have you been? There it is. You have been in a friendship mode, 3 of Cups. You've been connecting with other people already, right? Friendships can develop into something else. Where are you right now? King of Wands. Yes, passion. Leo energy. This is passionate energy, right? This is like, yes, I have figured out what brings me passion. I feel confident now. Where are you headed towards? So there we go. 7 of Pentacles. Now that I know what I want, I can start planting the seeds. Now that I know what I want, right? Now that I know what's fun, now that I know what kind of partner I want, right? Because I've been having friendships, I've been focusing on friendships. Now I know what I want to create for myself, right? Or what connection, what type of connection I want to have with somebody else. What card is going to help you stay focused on this? Strength through these changes. This is confidence. This is Leo energy. You may have a strong Leo placement as well, Aquarius, but there's something about learning how to, it's funny because that's taming the lion within, taming the roarness within, but there's something very sensual, very there's something, I mean, self-expression in play, it's like letting the lion out. Usually it's letting the lion out, but there's something about taming this lion. There's something about like, it's almost like either you're not comfortable with doing things outside the box, or you haven't been, or you're learning how to. And so to really put yourself out there, it's almost like, look, her eyes are closed. Her eyes are closed. There's something about trust and faith, but there's something about opening your eyes. There's something about opening your eyes. And opening your eyes towards this other person, opening your eyes towards this new connection, opening your eyes towards you, yourself, the lion within you, like being confident enough to look at yourself. How do I explain this? Because it's in the 5th house. How do I explain this? There's something intense. If you haven't had this experience, gosh, how do I talk about this in a PG version? Intimacy. There's something intense about being able to stare in someone's eye for a long period of time when you're really wanting to connect in an intimate level. There's something about eye contact that deepens and intensifies that energetic exchange. And so when you're being intimate with someone, however you want to define intimacy, there's something intense. I've experienced it both ways. I've experienced it where there's eye contact in that experience, and I've also experienced it where there hasn't been eye contact. Not to say that one is better than the other. It's a different experience. It's a different experience. So there's something about intimacy. There's something about eye contact. There's something about your senses, because you could still have an incredible experience, intimate experience with your eyes closed if your other senses are heightened, right? Or if it is just eye contact, there's something intense about being able to sustain that with somebody that you're interested in, right? Yeah. And it's going to require strength and confidence to explore that if it's something outside of you. Quiet rebellion. You could be rebelling in a very quiet way. Boundaries, peace, defiance. That's so funny. Boundaries and defiance. Like peace is the loudest protest. So, and it just, you're an Aquarius rising. So there's something about Aquarian, right? You're one of the most rebellious signs of the zodiac. So there's something about how you are innovating, right? That you could be normally a quiet person, and this breaking free, this rebellious version of you is really going to come out, but in a peaceful way. That's so wild. Aquarius, that's for you. Aquarius rising. If you have a Gemini in the 5th house. All right, moving on. Oh my gosh, that's so wild. That is so wild. Moving on to Capricorn rising, or if you have Gemini in the 6th house. Welcome, welcome. The sixth house is all about your day-to-day life, your routines, your health and wellness, how you balance work and your health. It's also about your coworkers, the people that you interact with on a day-to-day basis doing the work, whether it's at home or it's at an outside setting. If you already have Uranus there, then you've already had some shifts and changes with your routines, with who you are, because who you are presents on the daily, right? And so you may have already experienced changes in your environment, your routines. And if not, then your traditional routines are going to be shifting. Maybe you're shifting from doing work outside to homework, or working from home to going outside. You may have some type of desire to explore your health, your habits, your workout routines, right? Your what you're eating. You may be exploring alternative medicine or alternative practices of healing or alternative ways of scheduling your life. There could be, because it is the sixth house of health and wellness, if we don't address or we neglect our health, we may develop psychosomatic symptoms. So oftentimes there may be, to one extreme, it's like being a hypochondriac, experiencing I don't know how to, where you feel like you're sick all the time, having psychosomatic symptoms, right? Or illnesses. To one extreme, your central nervous system is, again, Gemini, it rules the nervous system, and so that could be challenged or highlighted. And usually if Uranus was already there, then self-control would have been something that you really had to learn how to master. But now that there are shifts occurring, and because you are a earth sign as a rising sign, you may have trouble releasing control. You may have trouble releasing control in this part, and so you're going to really have to embrace flexibility and allow these shifts and changes to occur, knowing that it's going to be for your benefit, right? If you avoid any change, you're going to then cause the forceful nudging to occur, right? And that might be even more uncomfortable because it'll be unexpected. So it would behoove you to look at flexibility as a way to innovate yourself, as a way to allow this transformation to occur. Because it's going to make things better for you, right? So for example, if you do work from home now, that might actually relieve you from some of the physical strains of having to wake up early or traveling or whatever it is that you had to do for work. Or if you are shifting from a 9 to 5 to something more flexible, to block scheduling, right? Now you have more opportunities to move around, to have a diverse day, right? Versus having to stay focused for a long period of time, especially with Gemini, because sometimes Gemini needs more distractibility and things to avoid being, ¿cómo se dice? Bored, to avoid being bored. And so, allowing that shift to occur might be to your benefit. There might be more freedom in your career or your home life, because of the variety. And so really giving yourself permission to be curious of how your day-to-day routine might shift, whether or not you're integrating high-tech tools, AI, or just a new routine, or how you manage information too, right? And being careful that you don't get overburdened, overworked either, right? Unbalanced in terms of your home and work situation. So where have you been? Where have you been, Capricorn rising? Where have you been? Where are you? And then where are you going? Where have you been? Where have you been? Six of Swords. You've been forced on this journey. I'm not surprised. You've been forced on this journey. You're going from something challenging to something better, to something easier with more flow. And you're taking with you the lessons that you've learned. You're going to take your time because you're an earth sign, the Knight of Pentacles, Virgo energy. You're revisiting your past through this healing process, right? Six of Swords. You're going to take your time healing the past. Whatever you're continuing to look back at, right? Whatever you're looking back at is needing healing. And it's Six of Swords is reluctantly going on this journey, but you know that it's going to get easier. And so that process of easy is going to require the healing of your past. Where are you going? Page of Wands. You're going to develop a new passion. You're going to figure out what that is, and you're going to start grounding that. And that may come from your past. You might remember, oh, what did I enjoy doing during the day, right? What do you need to focus on? The Hanged Man, looking at the past from another perspective. It's almost like, again, like he's being forced down the hole. He's being forced to look at the universe from a different perspective. So again, because you're an earth sign, there could be some stubborn rigidity, power issues, because you are a Capricorn rising. So there could be power and control issues around this process, and you're going to be forcefully nudged to look at life in another way, your life in particular, specifically, right? Your lessons, it's 11-11, your lessons in life, looking at it from a different way so that you can do that healing work and then be able to solely focus on the passion, the passionate, the passion within you and what you want to create. What the body knows, embodiment, wisdom, presence. Your body remembers what your mind forgets. This reminds me of the trauma-informed, como se dice? How trauma gets stored in your body, right? Your body keeps the score. That's the book. Your body keeps the score. So there's something about doing the healing work, not just emotional, but remember I talked about psychosomatic stuff. So look, this looks like pressure points. This looks like pressure points on your body. So you might need a massage. You might need something more physical and tangible in your body to release the stress, to release whatever you've been bottling up. Whatever you've been bottling up. Yeah, whatever you've been bottling up. Okay? All right, that's for you. Moving on to the 7th house, Sagittarius rising. The 7th house, all about partnerships. It could be intimate partnerships. It could be work collaborations. It could be legal contracts or informal contracts and agreements. And so this is a makeover in that part of your life. You may be challenging the status quo of the traditional marriage or agreements, right? How things are. And so this part of your life will definitely shift. Now, if you've already had ¿cómo se llama? If you've already had Uranus here, then you've already experienced a lot of changes. There could have been some incredible challenges with partnerships and intimacy. And so you may have already experienced maybe a divorce or some type of separation. If you already have Uranus in that house, or this will allow that endpoint to occur so that you might have a new relationship starting. Now, if you engage in connection and marriage or partnerships in later on in life, you might be more successful because there's more maturity, right? There's more maturity, and you may be open to producing something a little more unconventional, which may help sustain the connection in a better way. And so with the Uranus there, if it's activating those transitions and those transformations, then you're letting go of old partnerships that aren't working out, embracing new ones, think maybe new ones in a way that you haven't explored before. Like, for example, if you're from a traditional como se dice, marriage, where it's just you and someone else, maybe you're entertaining polyamory, right? Or different ways of sustaining relationships and partnerships, and so looking at that, being curious about it, exploring that, communicating, You're also going to be looking at how freedom and power and control dynamics, because if you didn't listen to the first house one, I talked about power and control because it's about the me versus the we. And so sometimes there's dynamics around power and control, themes around that, especially if you have Pluto, for example, in one of those placements as well. And so how are you continuing to be your authentic self in relationship to other people? Or are you losing yourself with other people? And so this is making sure that with your mindset, your intellectual freedom, like what you think, your insights, your ideas is being heard and not shut down. And is there intellectual diversity, or like where you're mentally stimulated in your partnerships with other people, right? Are you able to communicate with flow with other people? So there may be changes in how you communicate your ideas, how you communicate your feelings, how you communicate your wants and your needs. There may be changes in that, aside from the changes in partners. You may be exploring partners that are not usually your type, right? And kind of being curious about that a little bit more. Maybe you're going from just one partner to many partners. Or from many partners to just monogamy, right? And so really evaluating who you are within these relationships, and exploring new ways of sustaining and maintaining not just intimate relationships, but even partnerships, businesses, right? Business partnerships as well. All right. Where have you been? 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 Oh, there you are. 10 of Pentacles. Success. You've been focusing on your finances, on your resources, on your stability. That's where you've been. And now, oh, you are the Devil. You are looking at yourself, your shadow work. You're doing shadow work. You're looking at, okay, what has held me back in the past from getting what I want in terms of relationships. Maybe your focus has been completely on just your resources, and maybe your focus has been on resources because there was a time where, you know, you didn't have that. And so when you just focus on on your work, you forget about the relationships, right? And so there could be a need for you to look at your relationships, but that also requires looking at yourself and how you did you in your relationships with other people. Where are you headed? Where are you headed, Sagittarius? Where are you headed? Where are you headed? A lot of Earth energy. Work, Capricorn energy. Taurus energy. Queen of Wands. Embracing your femininity. Feminine energy, your confidence, you're gaining your confidence back in partnerships. There could have been power and control issues with Capricorn here in the middle. And it's almost like, look, it's like, okay, I'm going to take a look at you, right? Take a look. The feminine side of you may have been set aside. The feminine side of you, because it could have been overtaken by work in the past. And so now it's like, okay, I'm going to reclaim my confidence when it comes to my emotional well-being, when it comes to my emotional relationships, right? How I do me authentically in relationships to other people, because look, there's a black cat. So it's like, I don't care what other people think of me now, because I've done the shadow work, I've done the healing work. And now I can look at other people in a different way. I can shine my light. I can follow my passions, right? My creative projects with other people in a more authentic way, embracing my feminine energy. What's the card to focus on? There it is. 3 of Pentacles, collaborations, working together with other people. That's what it is. It's like each person is bringing their moon to the table. Each person is bringing that new version of themselves, that transformed energy of themselves, and kind of saying, this is me. This is me. This is who I've become. And accepting each other for who you are. Drowned by doing. This is where you've been. Busyness, letting control. Look at this. Letting go. This is an order. Busyness right here. 10 of Pentacles, right? Control, Capricorn energy right here. Letting go, releasing control, right? Confidence with where you are and who you are. Doing less is sometimes the truest devotion. You're learning how to have fun. You're learning how to release control of other people, right? Or what they're doing, micromanaging maybe, and learning how to accept people for who they are and where they are and how you can collaborate together. That's wonderful. All right, Sagittarius, 7th house, Gemini, that's for you. All right, we're moving on to 8th house, Scorpio rising. The 8th house. The 8th house is my house. It's all about secrets. It's all about the behind the scenes stuff of intimacy, the mind, anything that you shared resources like debts or just things that, you know, people don't know about. It could be, it's all about transformation. It's all about changes. It's about power and control. The 8th house is also about taboo subjects, the things that people don't want to talk about, but maybe they think about. So there's going to be major transformation around these areas of your life. Now, if you already have Uranus in the 8th house, you've already experienced, or maybe Pluto, there's already been, if you've already had some type of experience with transformation, death, rebirth, shared resources, intimacy issues, right? Power and control issues, and you're already familiar with how intense this part of your life can be. If you have other placements like Mars there together with Uranus, there's Mars is all about action. It's all about war. It's all about aggression. It's fire, and so it could be a little intense in terms of you know, hidden habits, you know, sexual tendencies, anything related to like habits with addictions, obsessions around money, right? Like gambling issues or just anything addictive, right? That is oftentimes hidden. You've already experienced challenges with that and the need for control around that. Money could have been an issue where inheritances disappear very easily, or it's hard to maintain wealth. There could be a lot of explosive, it could be potentially abuse too. There could be experiences or relationships where it's just draining, like energetically draining, or really bizarre or different, or, there could be a lot of consumption, like indulgence in this area. And so with Gemini there and the transit, there could be a need again for individuality, for identifying what that individual expression is. I mean, intimacy, it just really depends on where you've been, right? What side of the spectrum you're on with that. It could be the need to be more individualized, right? Kind of break away from the consumption of that connection, or the consumption with yourself, right? And really needing to step out from that, and lead to something maybe unconventional, right? Whether it's through your self-expression or change, or how you share your power, or there's honesty, because that's also the house of secrets, right? So there could be a greater need for authenticity, and shedding of the old for personal freedom. But a lot of it is how, and if you're needing to do this with somebody else, a lot of it is how you transform and grow together. And so there could be transformation through the shifting in the money and in the assets and what you share with other people in terms of resources. And so again, flexibility is going to be important with how you strategize around your finances. There could be also a lot of deep psychological shifts and transformations. in terms of like how you communicate, or the new ideas that come in, or the eccentric ideas, right? What you're learning, and then how, you know, it could be research, it could be stuff about the mind, taboo subjects, death, right? All of these subjects that people don't want to talk about, you might have an increased interest in them and go down that rabbit hole. Or you may be caught up too much in the mind that the emotional part gets disconnected between you and the partner that you're closest to, or the partners that you're closest to. And so you may need to feel a little bit more, or lean into learning and communicating in a different way. And so it's making sure, again, that we're not overpowering somebody else or being destructive and ignoring other people's needs. It's really about how do we meet each other's needs through this transformative work in a way that we are respecting the need for change, because that's the house of change. So there's already, it's like a double whammy again. And so it is all about transformation. So, all right. Scorpio rising, where have you been? Where have you been? Gaining clarity, the Chariot, fast moving energy, right? Gaining clarity with the unknown, gaining clarity with where you're going, where you're headed. It's almost like the road is being paved open for you to step into this new process. Where are you now? Five of Pentacles. Yeah, you are feeling left out in the cold. You are feeling that the universe does not have your back, right? It's like you're waiting for the universe to open up to you after this path has been cleared. So something was taken away from you and now you're sitting with it. It's like, oh yeah, like this was taken away and now I'm having to sit with it. Where are you going? I mean, it feels like you're headed towards healing work and transformative work, right? Well, let's see what comes out. Yeah, mother wounds were definitely highlighted. The Chariot is mother energy, Cancer energy. So there could have been mother wounds that were highlighted. King of Swords. Oh, there's two cards. King of Swords and the World. Yeah, you're entering a new portal. The World is entering the new portal, entering the moon. It's almost like you're taking a bite out of the moon, right? Like you're seeing the moon. And really stepping within, and you're coming out of that. You may have air in your chart. That's Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. You're coming out with it like boss energy. Like you are cutting through BS. You know what your truth is. Like this is what you're headed towards. Alignment of your truth. Being able to lead with wisdom. Being able to lead with empathy. Being able to lead with this new knowledge that's coming into your brain. It's almost like your crown chakra is being activated. There's something about spirituality that's being activated for you. Yeah, that's where you're headed. That's powerful. Powerful stuff. What to focus on? Oh, Ten of Pentacles. Stability, your finances, your resources, right? I mean, this is all about shared finances, shared resources, right? That's what you're headed towards. Learning how to create a legacy with someone. It could be with someone, or it could be you're going to create this legacy through the learning, the research that you do with taboo subjects, right? Maybe you're exploring death and unconventional healing practices, maybe. There's something about like the healing work that you've done with the Five of Pentacles, because yeah, look, you have the Chariot, or you have two major arcana. There's just something about like you're needing to step into this elevated version of yourself. So you may have some financial gain around that process of how you've expanded. An oracle card for you, Scorpio. There it is. Sacred balance, harmony, duality, flow. Your peace is the bridge between opposites. There you go. You are learning how to stay balanced. You are learning about duality. That's also the spiritual path. You're learning about flow, how to allow, right? How to clear out so that the new comes in. And bridging the opposites, right? Bridging the sadness. This is like bridging the two sides of you that are hidden, right? And sacred balance, the divinity, the spirituality aspect, right, is oftentimes hidden. It's the internal work that's done. This bridge is over water, so there's something about balancing your emotions as well. As you start navigating this process, because the intensity of the emotions can get overwhelming. If you don't know how to manage that. So, Scorpio, that's for you, my friends. Let's go to, who's next? Libra rising. Libra. We're looking at your 9th house. 9th house. We're looking at your 9th house. The 9th house is all about higher education. It's about travel, whether it's traveling in your mind or actually doing physical travel. It's about learning about different cultures and how they do life versus how you are doing life, right? It's about the community, the extended community that you're in, and the systems that you adhere to, and your belief systems, religious systems, like any aspect of your life that has a system, you're evaluating those systems and finding what is in alignment with you. So it could be about philosophy, it could be about the law, it could be about religion. You may be exploring alternatives, so like the non-traditional form of religion, the non-traditional form of philosophy, the non-traditional form of living life. And you may be doing that by hands-on experience through the traveling, or internally as you're learning information through books, through videos. I mean, you can travel, you know, without having to leave your home, with the amount of information that's accessible through the internet. And so you are gaining new knowledge, new information about the outside world and how it applies into your inner world. To one extreme, you may be very much focused on foreign affairs. Like if you've already had change and transformation in like Uranus in this area of your life, you already know what it's like to work with new information, changing information, and so you could be opening up to publishing, to engaging in more politics, engaging in communication in innovative ways, right? So now we're talking something where it goes to the masses. So podcasts, TV, radio, writing, publishing, social media, for example. So anything related to communication and using the platforms that exist. If you are traveling, there could be changes in how you travel, right? There could be unexpected detours, unexpected disruptions. You may move abroad to learn more about a specific culture. You're going to learn radical, innovative ways of living, and then how and the why you're learning that is going to be important because of what you're then going to communicate. You're going to be learning about the third way. Maybe you're moving beyond duality, right? And approaching a both and concept, right? And so then how you share this with others is going to be important, because you don't want to trample over somebody else's belief systems when you get really excited about sharing information, right? You don't want to divide, because you're a Libra rising too, right? It's all about maintaining harmony, being just, being fair. And so you don't want to divide other people as you're learning all this new stuff. It's how you're engaging and sharing information. Can you be inspirational, right? Can you be effective in what you share and how you share it, so that it stimulates growth and change at the individual level versus forcing it or belittling the other value systems and systems of beliefs that exist, right? Because you don't want to take away something without replacing it for somebody else. And so being able to evoke change through others via inspiration, via the stimulating conversations that you have, is going to be really important. What else? What else? That's it. Libra. Where are you? Where have you been? Where are you? And where are you going? Where have you been? Where have you been? It's 12:12. Where have you been, Libra? Libra rising. Where have you been? 8 of Swords. Learning how to trust your intuition. Learning how to get yourself free from a situation. Learning how to see in the dark. Right? Learning how to trust yourself with each truth, pulling out each sword, each thorn, each thing, that idea, right? The old belief system that was holding you back, like you're taking yourself, like she's lifting the swords up to get herself free. So there's something about freeing yourself, having been stuck and in the process of freeing yourself. Where are you now? Where are you now, Libra? Temperance. There's change, there's transformation, there's alchemy occurring, layers of alchemy. It's not just one layer, it's like multiple layers of change and transformation that you've undergone, cycles and within cycles. You've been going through transformation, like really like at another level of transformation. Cycles within cycles. You've repeated cycles. Where are you headed? Oof, awareness. You are gaining, you know, usually the Tower is destruction. I don't feel like this is destruction. I feel like this is your head exploding. I feel like this is your head exploding. Because if you notice, the Tower is intact. The Tower is intact. Even the people on the Tower are not falling off. There's 3 people. Let me show you. Let me try to zoom in. There's one little person right there. There's one person right there. And there's one person right there. It's like your mind, the tower of your mind just went like with an idea. All this water that was coming into this tower is now coming out. It's transformation. I feel like the Tower moment is for the world. I feel like the Tower moment is for the world. Like all this information and the churning and the churning and the churning and the shifting and the changing that's been occurring in here within you emotionally, because it's water energy, the Temperance, right? It's emotionally, it's like it's the universe is changing. It's like this information that you have, this information that you've learned how to do is going to transform the world. Card, please. What to focus on? What to focus on? What are you going to focus? Oh, okay, 2 cards. Oh, I combined a few. Let's see. 7 of Cups. Opportunities. Opportunities are going to open up for you. Opportunities to share your cup. Opportunities. Oh my gosh, yes. You've conquered death. You've conquered death. Look, you've overcome this death and rebirth transformative process. Yeah, you've conquered it. And you're going to teach people. You're going to teach people. And there's going to be so many opportunities to do that. So many opportunities to do that. The other card that came out was Sacred Pause, stillness, awareness, breath. In stillness, the world rearranges itself for you. It's rearranging itself for you. It's almost like the world has to go through this Tower moment to be ready for you. The destruction, because you've mastered destruction, you've mastered death. The world is going to have this Tower moment. And you're just patiently waiting. It's like you're patiently waiting. You're just like, I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen and I know what I'm going to do. And this pause that you're in the middle of, this in between, you're just waiting. And you've learned how to wait. Temperance is waiting. Temperance is holding back. Temperance is the alchemy that you don't see. You've learned how to do that. Infinite, gentle. Eternity, grace, softness. Infinity feels like quiet, not thunder. Yeah, you've learned how to wait. You've learned how to be gentle with the silence, how to be gentle with the I don't want to call it a delays, but the pace. How to be gentle with the pace. How to be gentle with yourself as you're exploring the swords that were holding you back, and how to be gentle with yourself as you intuitively learned how to set yourself free. You're even being gentle with yourself when it comes to the people around you that are experiencing tower moments. There's something about what you've learned, what you're mastering, and the gift that's going to be for the world. Wow. Wow. Libra. Congrats. All right, moving on to Virgo. Virgo rising, 10th house, where you have Gemini there. Putting these back. The 10th house is father energy, traditional father energy, provider, protector. It's also work, it's career, it's your reputation, it's your dreams, your goals, your aspirations, right? That have been practical and tangible. Your professional identity, your life path, if you will. If you look at a career as a life path, it doesn't have to be, but it can be. If you've already had Uranus there, you've already experienced a lot of significant changes with regards to the work that you're doing, with regards to doing something untraditional, unfamiliar, right? If you have Uranus there already, so you may be exploring astrology or other types of non-traditional types of work. And there's how you do the work is important too, right? Because it's father energy, it's Capricorn energy traditionally, right? And that's all about power and control. So the how you have embraced the shifts and the changes in that. You may be going from something traditional like patriarchy, like harsh, like punitive or micromanaging, to something a little more dynamic, a little more freeing, a little more innovative. You could be focusing primarily on information driven businesses of service, or like teaching, for example. There could be networking that's occurring, right? Interacting with other people through media. There could be the need to release control over time frames because it's unpredictable, right? The success could come at any moment, or the reputation failure may occur at any time. And so knowing it's tied to your self-worth also, if work is something that you're closely connected to in terms of who you are and who you've become. And so you may be challenged to leave something traditional that makes you feel safe and secure for something that's more intellectually curious or stimulating, right? So again, you may have shifts in the timing of your work, for example, the location of your work, for example, the type of work that you're doing. The 10th house is there could be about leadership as well. And so there could be changes in your role, what you're responsible for. There could be changes in the visibility of your work, right? So maybe you're going to be seen more. And so your public image is going to take a role. You might have to redefine your brand. Not putting a time frame on anything because it's so unexpected and sudden. It could happen in one day, it could fall apart the next, right? And so again, it's another one where you're needing to be very flexible with not having expectations, allowing the innovation and the transformation to occur, and communicating that in a new and freeing way so that it doesn't feel like it used to feel, right? Very restricted or limited. All right, Virgo, where have you been? Virgo rising, where have you been? Nope, there it is. Where have you been? Empress, Venus energy, right? Nurturing yourself, nurturing what you're creating, really looking at yourself. Where are you now? That's the 3 card. Where are you now? There's already been some type of transformation with the eclipses, maybe. There's something about the sun and the moon. The sun and the moon, the cycles of change, knowing what those cycles of change are, that things take time. Yep, work. Virgo, this is work. This is something. Yep, earth energy, right? It's like you're grabbing the wisdom, what you've learned about how to nurture yourself, how to take care of yourself, and now you're going to duplicate it. You're going to duplicate it in an innovative way. This new piece of information that you have about your work, you're innovating it. You're duplicating it. Where are you headed? Where are you headed? Where are you headed, Virgo? There it is. You're headed towards the 9 of Pentacles. Spiritual journey. You're headed towards something better, right? More emotional, not spiritual journey, sorry. Emotional fulfillment. 9 of Pentacles is emotional fulfillment. In emotional fulfillment in the boundaries that you've set, the healthy boundary. These two are marrying each other. It feels like they're marrying each other. Whenever I see the 9 of Pentacles, there's emotional well-being that's being taken care of. But the Empress, I feel like the Empress is the higher octave. So there's something about like having reached a certain point in the work that you've done before. And as you're learning something new with that information, you are now embracing a new way of, it's like you're having to learn how to set boundaries with the new, los nuevos huevitos. You went from, like, it's like you were focused on one thing, one big thing, or one big thing was taking up your space, and now you have all of these huevitos that you're needing to, because you're duplicating it, right? And so now it's like, okay, I'm letting them grow, I'm letting them nurture. What's the next thing, universe? What's the next thing? What's the next thing for you? That's where you're headed. You're headed towards success financially. And it's almost like you're right now an apprentice. Look at the kid, and then look at the wise person who he's become. And he's like, all right, I'm done with this task. What's the next task? What's the next task? Oh, lost signal, distance, numbness, reconnection. Your inner voice is never truly gone. This is about your voice and connection. You may have lost your connection before. You may have lost you may have lost your connection to source. Oh, I forgot to pull out one of these. What are you focusing on? The moon. The 6 of Pentacles. What to focus on is the healing work. What to focus on is the shadow work, the unknown, right? Right now is to focus on that and making sure you continue to stay balanced through this process of self-discovery. Mira que bonito. Oh my. You remember I talked about mirroring? Look at this. The 2 wolves. They're looking up. They're looking up. There's like, I'm trying to reach the connection. I'm trying to reach the connection. I'm waiting for the connection. I'm making connection. They're all looking up. And then there's one person looking up. It's like this 2 sides of you are looking up. The 2 sides of you are looking up. It's almost like, and their eyes are closed. These wolves their eyes are closed. Like they don't want to see. Well, they can't really see because it's not a full moon, right? So they can't really see in the dark. But then once the full moon is shining, then you're able to see the gifts. You're able to see the gifts of the shadow work. and you're able to receive those gifts, right? And I think a lot of that is because there was a lost signal. You were disconnected. You were disconnected. Yeah. Wow. So if you're feeling disconnected right now, don't worry. You're going to be reconnected. Like, it's going to make itself seen. The path is going to show itself to you. Wow. All right, we're moving on to Leo. 10th house or 11th house, Leo rising. The 11th house is all about networking. It's all about your social groups, whether it's your immediate social groups or the larger groups that you belong to. It's about social media. It's about communication, just connection in different ways. Where do you belong in the larger community? And so there could be radical changes in your social circles, in your advocacy groups, how you're involved in community, any long-term goals, wishes, or desires. That's also 11th house energy. And so if you've already had Uranus there, you've probably already interacted with a lot of different people, and you may, these are people with troubles, with issues that you've been helping navigate, you've been helping organize, or there could be, you could be some type of CEO or business person where you, again, have to interact with a lot of different people, have to problem solve in a lot of different ways, put out fires in different ways, right? And so managing other people. And so usually at this position, if you already have Uranus there, the changes and the transformations that occur are occurring earlier, so that in later life you're able to take on this role and responsibility with more maturity, with more know-how. And so, and again, because there's a lot of, or you may have a lot of wisdom very quickly, depending on how you've navigated and managed all of those responsibilities, because everybody goes at a different pace, right? But because it also deals with your social circle, you may experience sudden shifts in the people that you're connecting with, the people that you belong with, the people that you resonated with may no longer resonate with you. And so you'll be releasing groups, people of your life to allow new people in. You may meet people in a very worldly way. It could be online, it could be using technology. It could, your goals might shift because of how things are shifting all around. And so how you achieve your goals is going to be, and your dreams is going to change. You might explore untraditional or unconventional goals or dreams. And so the timing of that is maybe unknown. You may have access to certain platforms and breaking down any type of barrier, distance barrier, because of the access to social media or television or anything that allows networking to occur. You will have access to that. And so you're breaking away from the way traditional group structure, groupthink operates. And so there's going to be more curiosity, learning with the learning, or how you stimulate one another intellectually. You may connect with new people who challenge you or inspire you or are different than you. There may be changes or the need to adapt in your social circle. You may be tied to social causes. Like if you weren't advocating before, now you may be advocating, especially with the way things are occurring in the world, right? ¿Cómo se llama? Grassroots organizations could be something that you're aligning with. And being able to still express your individuality within a group and not rejecting one another through that process, right? And so being able to understand the elements of group work without losing yourself either. All right, that's 11th house stuff. So where have you been? Where are you? And where are you going? Leo, where have you been? Where have you been? Where have you been? Oh, there it is. Empress energy, right? You've been taking care of you. You've been nurturing you. You've been learning how to look at your shadow, at your voice. You're learning how to find your truth. Right now you've discovered your truth and you're charging forward with it, Leo. You are charging forward with it. Just be careful not to be erratic, not to be harsh, not to be rash, right? Embrace the earth energy from the Empress. Where are you going? Where are you going charging with your new truth? Oh, snap. Five of Swords. Five of Swords is usually winning at all costs. So again, being careful, right? Being careful how you communicate your new ideas, your new perspective, your new beliefs, your new needs, right? If your needs need to change in your social circle, making sure that we're not destroying people along the way, or making sure that your connections aren't destroyed along the way. There could be worries or anxieties around what people will think of you. Because if you're charging too quickly, that's what's going to happen. What's the advice? What's to focus on? And the potential, it's almost like the potential to influence is not going to be a lot. Like there's only 3 people there. And so it's almost like you've cut off too many people when the focus should be on, you know, I mean, maybe you were part of a larger circle and now you're needing to go smaller. It's possible. 9 of Cups. So you're having to focus on your emotional fulfillment. Yeah, I feel like you've probably been... There's a need for solitude. There's almost like a need for solitude. Like learning how to fill your own cup. Learning how to fill your cups. There's a call for independence before you go back in there. Yeah, that could be why. That could be why. That you may need to go within. Go within, kind of figure out what new goals you have, what new dreams you have. Are the people around you still the people you know, hang out with, or is there a need to maybe go smaller, right? Be more intimate. That's a possibility. I mean, it could go from one extreme to the other. Maybe you've been over involved in social media. Now the drastic changes, it's going to get taken away from you, right? Maybe there's some change in communication, or some type of radical shift in, you know, when you're thinking about networking, right? Mercury retrograde, right? How finicky technology can also be, right? And so there could be breakdowns in communication too. But there's something about going within your inner child, your because that's like a little boy. The golden thread, destiny, unity, meaning everything you touch becomes a part of your return. So it's almost like needing to tap into, like reaching for all of these little pieces of yourself and trying to understand them a little bit better. Trying to map out the meaning of your life, or the meaning of yourself within a larger group, right? It says destiny. Maybe there's a North Node in your 11th house, or there's something about your 11th house that is connected to your destiny in terms of alignment of self, or unity as a whole, or as a group, right? And so it's almost like you're trying to figure out your place. And once you do, there's something about bringing people together. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Leo, Yeah, bringing people together. There's something about bringing people together. Some collective work. And I feel like it's going to go beyond. I think that's what it is. I think it's like you have your small circle of friends, and now you're having to go within, because at some point you're going to expand outward, and it's going to be further, like the way you're going to connect with other people is going to be different. It's going to be more expansive, but it requires you to go within. It requires you to do some healing work. Yeah. Because it's going to expand. You're going to expand. You're going to reach more people that are different than you, people that yeah, I mean, you can still unite people who are different than one another. You still can. And it's all about how you communicate, how you utilize the platforms, right? And again, sometimes we can't just always be on. There's sometimes we have to be off to do reflective work. How am I communicating, right? Am I communicating effectively? Am I being too rash, too harsh, right? Two Knight of Swords. How did that go when I lost friendships or relationships? What did I need to do differently? Yeah. There's almost like maybe you were rejected and that triggered you, that evoked something within you, but we'll see. We'll see with time. All right, moving on to Cancer rising, 12th house. So 12th house is all about spirituality. It's all about the cosmos. It's all about the universe. It's the hidden stuff, the hidden belief systems, the hidden aspects of spirituality, the hidden aspects of ourselves that we don't want people to know about. So it's hidden information, radical changes in spiritual practices, karma. It's also the house of karma. It's the house of your undoing, so that the new you comes up, the more balanced version of you. It could be intentional solitude or forced isolation through confinement, so jails, prisons, all of that stuff. And so again, if you've already had challenging placements or erratic placements in that house, you're already comfortable or becoming more comfortable with how that part of your life causes shifts and changes within you. You may be exploring different ways of connecting to your psyche, connecting to spirituality, and you might take on a spiritual path. You might face your own fears, hidden fears, or beliefs or thought processes that evoke fear or evoke distrust in the unknown. And so you may be confronted. You may be asked to confront all of that, to reestablish trust within yourself, because reestablishing trust with the universe is reestablishing trust within yourself. You may be experiencing erratic thoughts in that process, intense dreams or changes in your belief systems. Your mind is on overload because it's all about the hidden stuff. It's all this. And you may experience a spiritual awakening through that process. There may be, that could be activated, right? And so you might explore unconventional healing modalities, things that people it's very woo-woo to that extreme. So there's sound baths, which are really great. There's I remember going and there was some type of lights, and it wasn't EMDR. This was it was induced, what was it called? I don't remember, but it was you were inducing something, for those that couldn't dream, it was causing that to occur. So another way of kind of like hypnosis. You might have an urge to go within a lot more or be more intentionally on your own, but it could also cause you to reevaluate your mental health. What parts of your life have you sabotaged, if anything, right? Or disrupted or held yourself back? What habits that no one knows about are impacting your life? There could also be surprise transformations, surprise endings, or a liberation of sorts when you actually trust the universe and get to that point of oh my gosh, I feel so much lighter. Or the opposite, where what you once felt, oh wow, like I'm so freeing, I trust the universe, all of a sudden your security might end all of a sudden, and you might feel like you're being held back from stuff. And so kind of keep in mind, because a lot of it is internally, there could also be stuff internally that gets thrown off, like your biological clock, your dreams, your how you are mentally adaptable. And so you might be encouraged to take a dream journal, interpret your dream class. You may need to do some energetic work, karma work, Reiki, for example. Past life regressions are great. And you might have insomnia or difficult sleep patterns. And so making sure that you're embracing a both and mindset so that it doesn't split you up, right? If you're forced on what's right or wrong, that will split up your psyche. It's about integration. It's about bringing wholeness and completion when you fall apart. Yeah. All right. How are you? Where were you? Where were you? And where are you going? Two of Pentacles, Three of Cups. So you've been balancing relationships. You are in the middle of the King of Wands. Oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What did I miss? What did I miss? Cancer, Cancer, what did I miss? Two of Pentacles. Okay, so you've been trying to balance the spirituality with the earth already, but one of these is unbalanced. So one of them had more attention to it, right? And so now the moon, the universe is highlighting a lot more, right? And it's like you're not alone in this process. You are and you aren't. Like there's a group of you that are experiencing the same challenge, right? And through that, you're going to come out wiser. You're going to come out with more knowledge of what your truth is, how to be emotionally stable, because when you're doing a lot of transformative work, it can cause a lot of emotional turmoil. Fears come out, and so you're going to gain this wisdom through that process. Yeah, you're going to gain wisdom through that process. So what do you need to know? What do you need to know? Oh, two cards. The World. You're entering a new portal. Yeah, you're going towards emotional fulfillment. You're going towards emotional fulfillment through this process. So it's going to be challenging, Cancer. It's going to be difficult. You're going to release old stuff, heavy stuff, and you're going to have emotional freedom. You're going to have emotional abundance. You're going to have an emotional home, with spirit, with the world. It's like there's unity through this portal. There's one with the universe. And so staying focused on the unity aspect, like if I'm feeling pulled away, how do I get myself back, right? Unity. Let me bring myself back. How do I stay grounded? How do I balance the spiritual and the earthly stuff without losing my balance? Cancer, one more card, please. Oh, okay, two. The Quiet Bloom, becoming, patience, and beauty. Even in silence, intentional solitude, life is growing. So life is growing. Empty space. Oh my God, do we not talk about emotional solitude or just solitude? Empty space. Openness, quiet, possibility. Silence is not absence. It's potential. Look at that. Yeah, so quietness, solitude, you're going to be able to work on your process of becoming. It's going to take time, but there's going to be something beautiful that comes out of that, right? It's like that flower, right? Like you don't know when the flower is going to fully bloom. I mean, you do and you don't, right? You know there's transformative work at play with seeds in general, right? They're underground and you know something is happening, you know something is changing, but it's not until they actually bloom that you see that transformation unfold. So it's almost like you're inside the seed. You're inside the seed, right? And look, the cups on top of each other, it's like the stem that's growing, That's cool. All right, Cancer. That was for you. I hope everyone, I didn't say this, but I'm hoping you are, hitting the like button if this made sense for you. Share the message if you think this will help somebody else. And stay tuned for the readings this week. I'm hoping that every day I am posting something. If not, I hope you go back to this one and get the advice that you need for these next 7 years. All right.